Hello, pre-calculus students. If you would like to figure out what your final letter grade in the class is going to be, you need to correlate it versus the rubric that's described in the syllabus. Basically, 90s is an A, 80s is a B, 70s is a C, 60s is a D, and below is an F. And I round up. So a 79.5 would be rounded up to an 80, which would be a B. This is a little gradebook app that I created in Microsoft Excel just using its spreadsheet functionalities. And it is two different computations. The top box is for finding your grade in the Math075 class, and the bottom is for the 075 co-requisite course. The 075 co-requisite course is pass, no pass, and the Math175 class is a letter grade. You must achieve both a passing P grade in 075 co-req course and an A, B, or C passing grade in 175 to proceed. The boxes that I'm hovering over here is the box for putting in your post MyMathLab homework average. So if you navigate to the Canvas gradebook and scroll all the way to the right, if you're viewing it on a laptop or a desktop, or all the way down to the bottom on a phone, you will see your averages for post MyMathLab homework, MyMathLab quizzes, test average, and participation. And you can put those scores in, and you'll see the score that's in the blue box is exactly what is shown in Canvas for your final numerical score. If you navigate to our Math075 Canvas class, you will see the pre-MyMathLab homework score, the average of your discussion boards, and your group work participation. And in the blue box, that would be your numerical score, which is either passing if it's 70 or above, or not passing if it's below. So if you were, let's take a mock situation where a student had a 91.3% in their post homework. Maybe their quizzes weren't as good. Maybe they had an 83.4%, and their test averages were even lesser at 78.9%, but they had a 98% on their participation. The student would have an 86%. And that means that they will definitely, they'll probably pass the class no matter what, but you may be interested to see if it's possible for them to get a D or a C, or maybe pull that B up to an A. So what I would do is, after you've taken at least your first attempt at the final exam, drag down those values, and you'll notice that the score looks like a 68.8 in green, which would be the final score if you got a 0 in the final, because it's using a new weighted average system, taking into consideration that the final is 20% of the grade. Notice if I put a 0 there, it does not change the grade, because this is computing your average with a 0 on the final. So this student would not pass. Even going in with an 86, they would not get a passing grade. They would get a D if they get a 0 on the final. If they got a 10, you can see that that would be more than a 69.5, so they would get a C. If they got a 50 on the final, they would only have a 78.8, and that's not enough to round up to a B. So if they had, let's say, a 60 on the final, you see that they would keep their B, and you can put 100 in to see if they got 100 on the final exam, if that would be enough to raise the grade to an A. This would be up to me as an instructor if I choose to exercise my right to raise your grade based on your performance on the final, which I have done in the past. This is pretty close to, I don't know if it's close enough to an 89.5. It might take into other considerations as if the student had done extra credit assignments along the way. The same kind of computation could be done for the 075 class. So let's say that the student had 100% on their pre-homework. Their discussion board was only a 68% because they missed a couple or got them in late, and they had 100% on their participation. This student would have an 87.2, and they certainly would get a passing grade. If you took the first exam and you didn't like your score, and let's say you got that 60 and you could see that that only kept a B, I would say take the exam again so you can improve it to a score like 100 that would pull your grade up higher, which would at least make me think about potentially rounding that score up. Or maybe if this person had like 100 on their post homework to begin with, then they would have gone into the final with an 88.7, and maybe an 80 on the final wouldn't have kept their B. In fact, since it's lower than what they went into the final with, it brought it down. But if they got a 90, it's still not good enough. But maybe a 96 on the final would have been enough to pull that person up to an A. So you can see how you can use the spreadsheet, and it dynamically changes the averages based on the numbers that you input. Okay, have a great rest of your weekend.